Okay. Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, Lindsay Smiles, where we like to talk about books because literature makes us smile. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top 5 books that I read in the year 2016. These were my top 5 favorite reads of 2016. So without further ado, let's get into it. These are in no particular order. I gave all of these 5 out of 5 stars. They were all incredible. So the first book on this list is The Sympathizer by Viet Thanh Nguyen. I'm sure I'm totally butchering that name. It's Vietnamese. This book actually won the 2016 Pulitzer Prize for Fiction. It was one of my favorite books of this year. So this book is about a Vietnamese spy right around the time of the Vietnam War. He's half French, half Vietnamese, and communist, and he moves to America in the middle of this huge crisis, and it's all about his dealing. There's some death, there's some murder, there's some getting away with things. You just got to read it to find out. Man, it tears you up. Really, really hardcore. Number 2 on my list of top 5 favorite books that I read in 2016 is Bigfoot for Women, and this is by Amy Pickworth. This is a book of poetry that I read this year, and I actually got to meet the author, and she's amazing. The entire book itself, if you're into poetry, it's a really, really great collection. It is all about this thematic element of Bigfoot and all of the ways that that can be taken, whether literally or a representation of the narrator's father or the Bigfoot in all of us, how it's still sort of relatable. Really great book. The writing style is beautiful. I know it's kind of weird for me to pick a book of poetry as one of my top 5 for the year, but man, Bigfoot for Women, it just blew me away. It's not a very popular, well-known book, which is why I'm putting it out there. Everybody go read Bigfoot for Women. Amy Pickworth is awesome. Okay, number 3, I actually listened to as an audiobook this year, so I don't have an actual physical copy. But man, this audiobook was amazing! And that is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Mr. Neil Gaiman. If you've ever listened to an audiobook by Neil Gaiman, an audiobook narrated, like read by Neil Gaiman himself, oh, is magic. I will never go back to just reading Neil Gaiman. I will always now listen to his works as an audiobook because his voice, he just has this insane way of relating the story. The Ocean at the End of the Lane is about a man who comes back to his childhood and kind of relives it. He comes back to his childhood home and starts remembering all of these things that happened there, and it goes back in a flashback and tells the story of this little boy and he having issues with his family, and he has this best friend, this little girl, and she kind of takes him on some adventures, and it's very creepy, and you would think it's a children's book because it's all about these children, this child, this little boy's adventures, but there are such adult themes, and this book is the embodiment of childhood for me. It takes you back, but it's so creepy, and you don't really understand everything. But it's like you're seeing it through the eyes of this little boy. It feels like everything's so real. It's well done, Neil Gaiman. Well done, as always. Well done, Neil Gaiman. Number 4, and I don't have a hard copy of this one either because my friend Kendra just borrowed it. She's reading it now too. But this is an older one, and this is Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. This was the first book that I ever read by Toni Morrison. And man, did it make me want to read everything that woman has ever written, ever. Just saying. I had never really read a book before that was a novel, but was written like pure poetry. I mean, the way that she wrote this thing, it was so bold and daring and horribly aggressive, but truthful at the same time. So The Bluest Eye is about this little girl, Pecola Breedlove, and she's described throughout the entire book as ugly, and she's this horrible little black girl growing up in Ohio, and basically goes through this series of progressively awful events. And it's almost unrealistic, not almost, it is unrealistic how many horrible events she goes through in her lifetime. It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. and it just tugs at your heartstrings and tugs and tugs and then starts ripping them out of your chest until it throws them on the floor and stomps them away, and it's Toni Morrison. But it was just written so beautifully, and I had never read a book like that before, and it made me fall in love with it. As sad and horribly upsetting as the entire book was, if you want a good cry or political statement about race and beauty and Bluest Eye. It might be my top choice, maybe, of the year. The Bluest Eye. That was a great read. It's phenomenal, Toni Morrison. Phenomenal. Last but not least, number 5 on my list of top 5 books that I read in 2016 is going to be a Colleen Hoover, and that is November 9. I had never picked up a Colleen Hoover book before this year. I read 3. November 9 was hands down my favorite. 5 out of 5 stars. Great, great book. November 9 is basically about this young girl who's 18, and she's an actress, and she's getting ready to move across the country. And the day before she moves across the country, she meets this boy, and they kind of hit it off, but they realize they don't want to date because, she's moving across the country and he's staying there. So they say they're not going to talk to each other at all. They didn't exchange phone numbers. They didn't do anything. But they were going to meet back at the same spot 1 year from that day on November 9th. And they do that. They don't talk for a year. And they come back and they do this every year. They only see each other on November 9th. It's a really cool premise, but the big reason that this one hit my top 5, apart from just being an adorable between this guy and girl and the lives that they're going on, apart from just being a good story, it had the biggest plot twist. I can usually call plot twists, not to toot my own horn or anything, but it's kind of hard to surprise me in books. And man, Colleen Hoover did it in this one. I was blown, I was crying, I was sobbing for the entire last third of the book, but it was so good. So good, Colleen Hoover. Wonderful. Easy read, power right through it. I recommend it, hands down, great book. Colleen Hoover, November 9. Okay, so those are the top 5 books that I read in 2016. If you guys liked them or you had some similar books or other recommendations for me to review or talk about, you can just leave me a comment down below in that comment section. If you have any other books that you want me to go more in depth about, let me know. Hit that like button and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-o.